Welcome to Aiken This Week. I'm Emery Langston. Today, my guests are Cynthia Griffin, who is the Community Resources Coordinator for the Aiken Department of Public Safety, and Clint Smith, who is a local pastor here in Aiken and a member of our Aiken Safe Community Action Team. We're so pleased to have you both here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about a very innovative initiative or approach that the City of Aiken, the Department of Public Safety, has tackled, and that's Aiken Safe Communities. And I know that you both have been deeply involved with this program for about 3 years now. So as we get started, I want you to share who you are and a little bit about what you do and how you're involved with this. And Cynthia, we'll start with you.
Great. Thank you, Emery, for having us today. Again, I am Cynthia Griffin, and I am the Community Services Coordinator with Aiken Department of Public Safety. I've actually been with the city about 15 years, working with our neighborhoods and grassroots organizations. And in the last 3 years, I have been working directly out of public safety as a liaison, if you will, between law enforcement and the community, making sure that we are in a great position to work on that community and law enforcement reconciliation piece of our safe communities.
Very good. Clint, can you share a little bit about your background?
Sure. My name is Clint Smith, and I'm the senior pastor at Town Creek Baptist Church. We got involved with Safe Community right at the get-go. I think the chief and the city council, there was a meeting at H.O. Weeks Activity Center, and for all interested in the community to make our communities safer. And always had been friendly with law enforcement, and we moved back to town almost 7 years ago now. And I was interested in seeing what the chief of police had to say. Went to the meeting, and there was a sign-up volunteer. I think Cynthia was running the volunteer table then. Sign up, get your information down, and they contacted me and said, "Were you interested in helping?" And from that point forward, we've been involved in a deep level, at every level, I think, of safe communities with the Aiken Safe Community Action Team. We got involved right at the beginning, and now we're still involved even today.
Very good. Well, I know that, Cynthia, I know you and I have had many discussions, and I have been in on some of the meetings that you have held. Safety is so fundamental to any neighborhood, any community. That is key and that is core. So as we're getting started today, give us a framework of the Aiken Safe Communities approach and what that is.
Well, actually, in a very broad definition, the Aiken Safe Communities approach is a holistic community effort to create and sustain safe communities in Aiken. That's the very broad definition of Aiken Safe Communities. At this particular time, we are focusing on a component that addresses violent crime. We're working a violence reduction program that focuses directly on recurring violent offenders and their families. Again, safe communities is broad. There are many components. Our particular focus now is on reducing violent crime and working with those recurring violent offenders.
Sure. Well, what is the role of the community in this approach? Because I know the very broad picture in the community and having the community meeting and starting this out. So what is the community's role in the approach?
The community's role in creating and sustaining safe communities is critical. It is vital. We hear so much now about 21st century policing. Well, working in the capacity that I do, I always look on the other side and think about, well, then what is 21st century community involvement?
Sure.
And what we have found in implementing safe communities is that our community's role is to take ownership of our immediate areas, our neighborhoods, making sure that they are clean and safe environments for our family. Then the community has a responsibility to build relationship within their own community, getting to know your neighbors so that you do know when something is out of order. And then ultimately coming to the table with law enforcement and creating productive partnerships. So the community's role is, again, ownership, relationship, and partnership.
Sure. Yeah, and that those are, again, what you're talking about, very key, very fundamental, and very holistic, especially with things that have happened in our country here recently in the past couple of years. This is just such a breath of fresh air to have in our community. I think we're so lucky to have had this, this approach brought forth and being cultivated in our city. So, Clint, is there a particular group of people that work directly with the notified participants that Cynthia was talking about of the approach?
There's what we call a core team that initially began, a group of professionals and just folks from the community that were interested in safe communities. And let me go back just for a moment. That's how I got involved as well, not just as a pastor or bringing the faith element in, but as a dad, as a grandfather, part of the community who wanted a safe community for my children, for my family as well. So initially it was, whether it was from selfish reasons or community reasons, it was both. I want a safe community. So that core group came along and we kind of gelled. But there's people involved in the local school districts. There's people from different professions that are involved. And so I think every element of our community is represented, even there on the core team as we began and started to talk about what is it as we hash this out, because this was new for us. What does it look like, and what is it going to look like in the future? And it was very helpful, and I think the core team is still there. So we really believe in Aiken Safe Communities. We started and we're still on board. So all the folks that are involved are from different aspects of the community. That's
wonderful, and that really makes it work even deeper on a deeper level.
I was going to add what the core team that Clint really had, he's been there since the very beginning, and they have really developed this. This has evolved. We started following a model, but this core team has been instrumental in making sure that model molds and fits Aiken very well. And so they really form their relationship and partnership around the notified participant. So the core team comes alongside and sort of takes those three fundamental things, ownership, relationship, and partnership, and apply it directly to the notified participants. And they form like a cocoon around them.
Very good.
And begin to help them with some of the life decisions and goal settings and connecting them with resources. And so it has been, we couldn't do this without that core team, because again, they have made a national model very Aiken friendly and made it our own.
Well, and how important was that? To be able to gather the information about, what things that are happening around the country, and take elements and make it what we need, because every community is very different and very unique, and being able to form that to our needs is something very special.
Yes.
Agreed.
So what would the primary goal, Clint, in the message of the Aiken Safe Communities Action Team, or A-Scout, what would that be?
I think the primary goal is to provide a quality of life and reduce violence. I mean, I know that's a summary of what we got involved with this for, was how do we actually help the community, and how do we do our part. I'm a volunteer, I'm a pastor, I'm not law enforcement, and we as we progressed to the interview, I'll share that. We came and said, how can one person make a difference? And when Chief asked for those of us that are interested to sign up, I did want a better quality of life, because I knew violence. We've gone through a series, even through this time, of a couple of Aiken police officers being killed, and that was very personal for the community and for me personally. I knew one of them personally, and so how do we improve the quality of life? How do we reduce violence? There's got to be some part that I can do, and this was a part that I found myself that I could play, and I find it being productive, something that's very positive, that I can actually. It takes time. It does surrender some time, but for a community like Aiken, I think it's worth it.
Very much, very much. So walk us through, Clint, what A-Scout does. I mean, the logistical part of what the team does. Kind of walk us through the process.
Well, I think that to understand it, you need to experience it, I think, but I'll do my best to explain it. There is a selection process that begins with men and women that are violent offenders. The whole process, the idea is the repeat of violent history is in most of these folks that are candidates that are coming forward. It's in their history. So they're selected. There's a process by selection, and I was a little bit hesitant that how do we pick these selections initially? Are you just randomly picking someone because you know something about them more than the others? And So I was invited to the first selection process for me, and I was in a training room with multiple. FBI was there, Highway Patrol was there, City of Aiken was there, the county was there, SLED was there, and then civilians were there. And then as they had the training session, they give you a scorecard to understand what we're dealing with. And it's reality. There's nothing covered, there's nothing hidden, but there's no name, there's no race, and there's no gender on the profile. So it's just a white sheet with all the records of the offenses that's happened in the past. So the selection process is very much like that. You score out of the folks who have violently offended the worst of the ones that you experience
right.
on the board. Again, no name, no race, no gender. You don't know if it's man, woman.
Right.
You don't know where they're from, no address, no phone numbers. It's just the offenses. And sometimes you had to even get the codes, the police codes, explained what that offense was. That's
Sure.
how new we were to the process. So the selection process, we select anywhere from 10 to 15, and that's not us selecting. We put our vote in, and then
Sure.
it's selected from that pool. I think ultimately the public safety, it will come to them, and that's where the 10 to 15, 12, whatever the number is.
And Clint, how many folks do you usually see? I mean, when the selection, when you're going through this process, is it a group of about 20 folks or 30 folks, and you have to whittle it down to?
I think it ranges. No, there's many more waiting that haven't been notified.
No,
So
yes.
we don't want to say it's the pick of the crop, but there's folks who are violently offended and they've repeated multiple times.
Yes.
So those are chosen first. I don't know exactly the numbers. It's over the number that come in. So the ones that are notified, that's the next process. They're notified by partner paroles. Listen, you need to come in, and you're going to be notified on such and such date. And they require them to come in to the notification. We come as community, as a safe community, and then also some other people that are not part of the core group directly initially. They'll come in from folks that might be, we would call the vendors, or someone that actually would help these potential people that have offended. We take the opportunity before law enforcement comes in. Law enforcement's not in the room directly in front of them. We take the opportunity to tell them that we care about them, that we really want to see them succeed, that we have resources if they so choose to take advantage of the resources we're offering. We don't make any promises to them. We just tell them we're there to support them. And then we basically tell them how much we care, but ultimately we tell them we're here to support law enforcement. So whatever law enforcement makes that final decision, when that day comes, and if they choose to reoffend, we support law enforcement in that. But we do support them if they choose to be a productive, good citizen of Aiken, and we want to help them along the way. So the notification process happens there. It's public. There's news there. Unfortunately, they want to see what's going on as well. Is this really real? And as we sit down, law enforcement comes in, and they have the heavier hand, if you will. They're telling them the truth. If you violently offend again, if you get caught with one bullet, if you get caught with drugs, if you violently offend again, we're going to see to it that actually, not we as civilians, but the law enforcement and the prosecutors, that it's going to be even a greater time in jail, away from your families. And the chief, I think, ends it at best. He says you can violently offend again, and you're going to either go to jail or you're going to get killed in the streets. And he says there's examples of both. Or you can choose to be a productive citizen and then live with our community and make our community safe. So he does give those options. So it's heavy, but yet then it's a gracious offer to do right.
Right.
And then after the notification, the public notification, we meet in a separate room to give them information that's produced. The city produces that. The city has given us an opportunity to have an office area where we can actually make phone calls, receive phone calls, not on our personal phones, but directly through the city, Safe Community. And so we tell them, this is real serious. You've seen the pictures. There's pictures of men who've been arrested and women who've been rearrested after violently offending, hearing and not taking it serious. But there's also the success stories we have. And then there's the stories we haven't heard anything from so far. So we've told them we're serious. We want to help. Call this number. They get the check off if they're interested in housing, anger management classes, if they need a job, if they need a GED. There's a lot of selection on that brochure that they can choose and say, this is what I need help with. And then on the back of the brochure, they do acknowledge, I do want help, and they'll sign knowing that it's their responsibility to call us and that we don't make any promises to them.
Right.
But or some check, I do not want any assistance. If they choose to accept or reject the assistance that we've offered, and we've had both success and failure through the assistance, if they get rearrested for a violent offense, then we keep our promise that we support law enforcement and show up to the bond hearings. Now, that's a very troubling event for me because I'm a father of 3 and a grandfather. And to be in a room with family and having to explain to the judge, because the prosecutor will bring up, Your Honor, we understand there's blue files now for these folks, so they get a unique color file that they've been warned or notified by notification process by Safe Communities. So the day of the bond hearing, usually the prosecutor will ask or instruct the judge or ask the judge for us the opportunity to speak and say, Your Honor, a member of Safe Communities is here to speak. And we speak directly to the judge, and we've had to speak directly in front of young men's mothers and aunts and uncles and friends and girlfriends and wives and husbands. We've had to it goes both ways. We've had to step, and you have to literally press the button and speak to the judge through the glass. They're looking at us, we're looking at them, and their families in with us, and we say, Your Honor, we gave this person an opportunity. We really cared about this person, and we told them if they violently reoffended, we would be here on their bond hearing. So whatever the prosecutor asks, we ask. And we've had bond denied, and that's not I don't have any joy in that. We've had bond raised extremely high, and the prosecution process has gone it's very fast. It's a faster approach because they're told, we will move your case to the top of the case. And so every case I've been involved in so far, the judge says the community has spoken, and there's been a gavel, and bond's been denied or raised to the extreme level. There's been a lot of families not happy with us, and they've explained, even me as a pastor, it's hard to hear some of the things that's been said, but law enforcement's been there with us. And that was one thing I told Chief Barranco. Listen, Chief, if you're gonna be serious about this, I live on a public street. Right. I'm a very public person, and so Safe Communities is very important to me, and safety of my family. And so if you don't do your part, if the public safety doesn't do their part, then I'm just going to put myself out there on the edge, and I'll be left. Right. And I can say honestly today that that's why I'm still involved in it. Public safety has done their part. Sure. And I think Chief has even gone above and beyond. I think Cynthia, through the community services, there's been folks have gone above and beyond to help. And this has been a very positive experience. Even with the negative things that have involved, it's a very positive experience.
Well, when you're giving these folks 3 options,
yes,
and laying them out very clearly, and I have had an opportunity to witness the notification process, and it is it's heavy.
It is,
and the players at the table are very impressive, and it says a lot about the partnerships. In the seriousness and in the commitment in this community.
That's right.
Because it's our law enforcement, our city, our Aiken Public Safety, it's the FBI,
yes,
it's SLED, so we have our local, our county, our state, and our federal guys that are supporting this in a very big way. So it's quite a process.
Yes. The joint effort of law enforcement is impressive. I think that's what encouraged me as a citizen of Aiken, is to see that, again, the FBI, alcohol and tobacco firearms, from the prosecuting element to even the prison warden coming and saying, listen, I don't want to see you guys back at my place, or pardoning paroles with Miss Marie talking, listen, guys, y'all know me, I care about you, I want to see you succeed. So everyone is being very supportive, but very firm at the same time. Right. And I think that's been, the joint effort has been, it's unique to Aiken. I believe that I've never seen anything like it.
Right, so. Right. Very, very fortunate.
We are.
Cynthia, if you had to put an emphasis on one piece of this approach for the community's role, what would that be?
Certainly the follow-through piece with the community is what's very important. More so, I believe, than any part of the process or even the law enforcement piece of the enforcement, just as important, if not more important, is that relationship that the community begins to reestablish with that recurrent violent offender. So in any relationship, If I give you my word on something, you expect me to follow through. So just as Clint was just saying, the follow through with the community. We said that if you reoffended violently, we will be at your bond hearing to request bond be denied. They need to be there. If you want to come in and participate with some of the programs and services, we're here for you. It is important that they follow through on that. So building that relationship, the trust, that is key to what we're doing with Safe Communities. We want them to be productive parts of the community. Believe it or not, whether they're productive or not, they're part of our community.
That's right.
So the relationship must be there in the enforcement piece, and also with that care, aftercare, and offer of services and resources.
Very good. So with the follow through.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. That's the positive element of the safe community piece for us. Is I mentioned the negative. The bond hearing is the negative. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
But we promised we would, and we're keeping a promise on that side. The follow through on the positive side is when someone has a need. If they call and follow up and say, I need this, and we just recently had one that had a medical need, and there was one of our vendors, Christ Central. I'll mention them because they were very. Judy Floyd there was very helpful in that. Job Connection at Goodwill. Jennifer has been very helpful there. So these are folks that we, again, make no promises.
Sure.
We just tell them we want to be honest with them. We want to be trustworthy on our side, and we make the attempt, and we put the two connected, the resource and the person who needs the resources. Now, we as even a faith family at Town Creek have a helping center that we help individually. Individual members of our churches and different folks, but we've tied this in even with Safe Communities. We've helped young men get a suit of clothing for them to have a job interview. There's been connections for GEDs. There's been even offering on the faith element. I have the opportunity after we've helped through Safe Communities to put the faith element back on and help as a pastor. And we've helped directly behind the scenes. So that's something that we don't advertise necessarily. I'm telling you today because we've helped folks, but that's not something that's part of this program. But as who I am as a community member, that's why I follow through with that to show them love. I mean, because I think some of these folks they struggle with, do you really care about me? Is this just another program? Are you just trying to make a model of me? And when they find out we're real, they're real, and the ones that have succeeded, we celebrate, and the ones that have failed, it breaks our heart that, listen, why didn't these young ladies take the strong notification that the chief gave them? Because I mean, who really gives an opportunity? Who gets an opportunity for the law enforcement to call you in and say, don't do this again. If you do, we're going to prosecute you at a higher level. I've never heard of that, and that's something that usually is just you just make the arrest, and we've talked about it, and Cynthia and I have talked about it with the chief and the team. We can't arrest our way out of a crime, but we have to change minds. We have to change communities, and this is our aspect of following through, doing what we said we would do as community members, to follow up and show love and show compassion, so that they would turn back around and be faithful members of the community.
Well, and how lucky are we as a community to have so many wonderful, again, just another piece of this is the partners coming in with Jennifer at Goodwill and Christ Central, and I know that there are a host
United
of other
Way, we
folks.
could go down the list.
Megiddo, there are many, and just individuals,
individual people.
that pitch in, correct.
So again,
And I think the key, I want to make sure we make this, that the folks that are actually the folks that we make contact with for resources, they understand that these young men, young women are convicted felons. They know they're going through a program. They know all about the Safe Communities program, and they're still willing to be a part of the community and give them an opportunity to either get their GED, to get a job skills training, to get help with medical, whatever it might be that they have the ability to do. Again, not promising, but we make that connection. And once we refer them, we have a referral sheet that we fill out the information, who's calling, what is requested, and then we make a decision who has the best. We might have 3 options for whatever the person's requesting. Counseling is another one. There's an opportunity for that. So we call and make those connections. Can you see this person? They are coming through Safe Communities, so there is the information, because a lot of folks that are felons come back and say, well, no one will talk to me because they know if they find out I'm a felon, as soon as I check the box, it's done. And so we take that off the table, that these folks already know that ahead of time, because they're working with us through Safe Communities to help you. We want to see you succeed because we truly want you to be. We want you to increase the scale of living here in Aiken.
Exactly.
We also want you to be a safe community member.
Exactly.
Right. Well, and I think, Clint, that you answer, I was going to ask you about what a person can expect when they make an appointment, and I think that you kind of touched on that a little bit with what you just said. Is there any more to, if somebody makes that initial appointment and says, okay, I've been notified, all right, guys, I'm willing to sit down with you. What does that feel like?
They're extremely, we haven't had one that's called in, they're nervous.
Sure.
Is this really real? Am I putting myself on some kind of list? But the process is there's a simple number, 643-2117, right? That's the phone number.
And we'll get that on the
for Safe
screen as
Community.
well.
But they call in, and there's a voicemail they leave, and of course the information we take down, we call them back, and we take time as Safe Community members to call them back. What is it that you have need of? And we've had opportunity where we've followed through just recently that folks have said, why would you do this? They're still hesitant and wonder. One element I think I left out, let's just talk. I think I left that. We have a conversation after the event saying we invite you to a Saturday morning, or we invite you to a round table just to sit and talk to us. And we bring in other elements and other people in the core team, plus others, to come in and speak. And no law enforcement, there's no heavy guns there. It's just us talking with them saying, listen, what do you want out of life?
Right.
Maybe someone that's been on the inside of prison and has had success on the outside. We've had different folks speak, and that's an element of let's just talk is probably a key element that I forgot, the follow-up, that we just have a conversation with them. And that builds rapport, and then they feel okay to call in, and then they'll tell someone else, you can call into that number. So it's been, the follow-up has been the good part. And we've had, again, we keep bouncing like a ping pong, positive, negative, positive, negative. And we really hope that more and more end up on the positive side, that we have safe communities.
Sure. Well, as we're wrapping up today, Cynthia, the Aiken Safe Community approach and the action team, how are they making a difference in the community?
Conversation, building relationship. Before we actually launched the approach, we were hearing comments, is this going to work? And then statement, oh, this is not going to work. It's not worth it. There were a lot of naysayers. But I observed from the beginning, even before the first notification, it was already working. Because this gave us the opportunity to come to the table with diverse people, organizations, and begin conversation and dialogue. So even among law enforcement, that task force that's pulled together, they weren't always communicating at the level that they are now. They're better able to leverage their resources.
Sure.
And it's the same thing with the community. So how are we making a difference? By creating, first we've already all taken ownership. Okay, I have a responsibility to make sure Aiken is a safe place. Now here we are building relationship with each other, the core team, just even having to think through and talk through processes, because we don't have a script.
Right.
Everyone that comes in, it's a new challenge.
Sure.
So we have to talk through, we're building relationship, and then we're able to effectively partner with law enforcement, other agencies. The impact is going far beyond even the numbers that we see in statistics. It's the relationship, and continues to strengthen the bonds and the fabric of who we are in Aiken. So definitely there is an impact. We have diverse people sitting at the table together, across racial, cultural, economic lines. Oh, we're making an impact. We got the ruffles, under the ocean, the things are rumbling, but definitely making an impact, just even in our relationships, getting to know each other.
Well, and how crucial is that?
It is.
How crucial is that in any community, just to be able to sit at the table with diversity and have those conversations. And y'all are doing it at so many different levels. What an exciting time. What a wonderful approach. Truly appreciate both of you and your involvement, and can't wait to hear more exciting things from Aiken Safe Communities. Clint, you gave a number that they can call in. Can you give us that number one more time?
Sure, that number is 643-2117. That's the direct line to Aiken Safe Community Action Team. There'll be a voicemail there, and then if someone leaves a voicemail there, we will in turn call them back and follow up with them.
Very good. And Cynthia, if somebody wants to volunteer or get involved with the action team, they can call you or call that number.
They can call that number, or they can reach me directly at 803-642-6955. 888-878-7780. Our motto is get in where you fit
Get
in.
in where
There's
you fit in.
opportunity to volunteer.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. Thank you both so
Thank you.
much for being here today, and thank you for joining us for Aiken this week, and we'll see you next time.